Are you dreading the fact that the holiday season is coming up? And before you say it, no, I'm not wearing this for any other reason other than because I want to help and support you make the best of this holiday season, because I know what it's like to feel like it's looming ahead and feeling so much activation and dysregulation coming in your body. And in this episode, that's exactly what I want to give you. Tools and strategies to help you cope better with the narcissist through this holiday season. Hey everybody, my name is Caroline Strawson and I'm a positive psychology, trauma-informed coach and somatic therapist, helping people just like yourself move from post-traumatic stress to post-traumatic growth after narcissistic abuse, because it's tough, and especially at this time of year. So if you are new to my channel, a massive warm welcome, and if you are a regular watcher, welcome back. Please do make sure that you hit the bell, you hit the subscribe button, so you don't miss any of my episodes, because I genuinely want to help you feel educated, inspired, and to know that there is hope at the end of what can sometimes feel a really, really long, dark tunnel. So the holiday seasons are coming upon us. How can you make sure that it minimizes that activation that you have in the body? Well, the first thing to recognize is it isn't a date that just suddenly appears every single year. It's the same date every single year, and especially if you have younger children and it's an ex-partner that is a narcissist, it's all about the prep and the planning. And this is the same across the board, whether the narcissist in your life is actually a parent, a partner, an ex-partner, friend, colleague, whomever. The more we can prep and plan our nervous system, the better. Because remember, when we feel activated around a narcissist, the narcissist isn't actually the trauma. What is actually going on in our body is why we feel the way we do about why the narcissist behaves in the way that they do. So why does that make a difference? Well, two reasons. The first reason is if we know then that the power to heal is within us about how we change, how we receive the behavior of the narcissist, then the exciting part of this is you will not feel like this forever. You know, my ex-husband, who was a covert narcissist, has never ever changed. And I've been divorced now, 11, 12 years. He has never ever changed. What has changed is how I receive his behavior. And I receive his behavior now absolutely not as a reflection of me. But at the start I did. And that's why I felt really, really activated, because actually his behavior was triggering all of my inner child wounds of not feeling good enough, my self-worthiness wounds. And that's why you feel the way that you do. That's not to say that it's ever a nice situation when you're dealing with a narcissist, whether that be a parent or a partner or ex-partner. It isn't, because it is abusive behavior. But what we are aiming to work towards is they will never change. How do I change how my nervous system then is receiving and interpreting the behavior of the narcissist? So what sort of things can we start to think about doing? Well, there's a number of things. The first thing I want to talk about is if you have children with a narcissist, and that's what's coming up. This could be your first Christmas without the children. Maybe it's your first Christmas alone with the children. And that can bring up a lot of emotions. And the first thing that I will say to you is you get to create the Christmas that you want. Now, that might be you have the children on your own, or maybe you don't have the children. But right now, what I want you to start to think about is what new traditions can you start to create? That might mean if you have the children, you have a Christmas Eve box together, with your pajamas, you have some hot chocolate, and then you get to create your whole day on Christmas Day. Maybe then the children are going off to the ex at lunchtime in the afternoon, or maybe you've got them the whole way through and you're trying to be this Miss Jolly all of the time, or Mr. Jolly, and actually all you feel like doing is going and crawling in a corner. So this is then when we start to think about prepping your nervous system for all this, which I'll come to in a moment. But just think about what you can start to create. What have you always wanted to do to create around Christmas that maybe you weren't able to when you were with the narcissist? What is it you want to do for you and your children? Ask them. Get really excited about all of this and say, you know what, this is our first Christmas, or this year, let's start to create some new traditions that are just super, super special for us. Get them involved, because they will feel part of something. Maybe have a little family meeting and think about, you all have to do one or two things that you want to start to implement to make your Christmas the best Christmas ever, even with all the stuff going on, because you still can do that. Just because the Christmas isn't going to be the same as previous years does not mean you can't have a happy Christmas, a happy holiday, and work around all of that too. The second part of all of this is if you are going to be on your own at some stage, then what we want to do is start to prep our nervous system in advance. So if you're a regular watcher, you will know What I do when I'm working with my clients in my communities is I work somatically. So remember, you can't think your way out of healing from narcissistic abuse. We have to work in the body. We feel narcissistic abuse, we don't think it. So we have to work in the body. And this is really our nervous system, which tells the story of all of our past experiences. So if we know then that the narcissistic behavior is triggering us to go into a fight, flight, freeze response, because it's triggering our inner child wounds, maybe of not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, important, or lovable, what we need to start to do then is reparent ourselves. So not only do I want you to start to think about parenting your children around this time, because I know you're an amazing parent. I know you will be absolutely doing everything you possibly can to make this the best Christmas ever for your children. I want you to imagine and visualize that you also have your inner child, and you need to make sure that she or he has the best Christmas ever. And just to give you a little example here, let me show you. You see on my Apple Watch there. That's me as a little girl, okay? And I have that on my wrist because I'm constantly reminding myself, you're good enough, you're good enough, you're good enough. And every time I'm doing this, I'm externalizing my inner child. And then by doing that, I'm actually creating two separate timelines. I am not the wound, I was wounded. So it creates these two separate timelines that I'm very much able to stay in my adult self, looking back as opposed to reliving and feeling all of that in the present moment. So I know if ever I start to feel any activation, which is very, very rare now because I'm very good, but that doesn't mean to say that I don't. I'm a human being at the end of the day. Nothing around the narcissist, I have to say. I'm talking about other stuff too that are triggers around this. But ultimately, I'm always constantly reminding myself, you're good enough, you're lovable, you matter, you're worthy, you are important. And when I keep doing that, sometimes then if someone behaves in a certain way towards me, then I don't receive that in a way that it's a reflection of me. I might start to feel some activation in my body, but ultimately then what will happen is I recognize that's my inner child, she's hurting at that point. What can I do to start to soothe her? Reparenting. So I want you to start to think about how can you give your inner child all the things that maybe she or he never received. I know you're a great parent to your own children, so now we also need to reparent and self-parent your own inner child. So start to nurture yourself. What would you like to gift yourself this Christmas? What would you like that maybe you never had? Maybe you want to have pizza for your holiday dinner. Do that if you want to. Be seen and heard. Hear yourself. Prep that nervous system. The other thing to consider for prepping is utilizing the five senses. When we utilize the five senses and really focus on them, we shift out of our emotional part of our brain, which is our limbic system, and we move back into the front part of our brain, our neocortex, where we become more online and we're able to think more logically and rationally. That doesn't mean that we don't feel some of the pain of the challenges that are going on around us. But what it does mean is we don't see them as a reflection of ourselves. We just see it's a pretty rubbish situation, and this is what we are left in at that particular point. So we prep to utilize those five senses. Maybe go for a walk, get wrapped up if you're in a cold place, or if you're lucky enough to be in a really warm place, then go for a walk. What can you see? What can you smell? What can you feel? Feel the sun or the wind or the cold on your face. Maybe touch some leaves or snow where you are, just to feel that shifts you out of your limbic system, your emotional part of the brain. And even walking is a form of what we call bilateral stimulation as well. We're using our left and right hemispheres of the brain when we're walking. And then if we're also looking around at what we can see and really engaging all of those senses, we're really helping ourselves get back online into that front part of the brain as well. And do the same in your home. What are you seeing in your home right now? When you wake up first thing in the morning, what is the first thing that you see? Is it a pile of clothes, for instance? Get yourself a nice affirmation, I am enough, that you see the moment that you wake up. Start to feed your environment. What can you smell? Do you have candles burning, for instance? Really look at those five senses that as you are walking around your house or your home, what are you seeing? What are you smelling? What can you touch? What are you eating? Yes, we want nutritious food, but we also want some treats around this time as well. To really make sure that your outgoing surroundings, notice to prep your nervous system. If you have to do a handover, for instance, these are really, really key to do this. Prep your nervous system as much as you can to get as calm as possible by using those five senses. It's a really quick and easy way to do that. I teach lots more in the programs that I do, especially in Regulate. Regulate is my somatic healing and vagus nerve toning program. And that is phenomenal, teaching you loads and loads of other tools around this about shifting from fight, flight and freeze. And again, I'll pop the link in the notes below so you can have a little click and have a nose about all of that as well, if that's something that you really want to engage in. I really invite you to think about moving into the following year that this is your opportunity to heal within your body so that you can work on healing and thriving and moving from post-traumatic stress to post-traumatic growth. Now, the same goes for maybe you have a parent and you maybe have to go for holiday dinner, Christmas dinner over at their house, or maybe they're coming to you. Because I get it. Sometimes with the narcissist, when they're in the family, it can make it really impossible for us not to see them. This is when we have to have boundaries around all of this. So again, what time do you go or do they come? Or what time do you leave and then they leave? Be really crystal clear around all of this. Boundaries are now going to be your new best friend, okay? I want you to start to think about what boundaries you have and really maintain them. But I know that can be really, really hard to start off with. I understand that. It's all very well saying, okay, I'm not going to do this. And then they rock up or you rock up there and all of a sudden you're thinking, oh my God, this is 5 hours later and I'm still here or they're still here, okay? Knowing that as you're starting to implement these boundaries, it's going to feel tough. It's going to feel heavy. What can you do to actually support yourself in that particular time? I'm going to give you an example. So whenever I used to speak to my dad on the telephone, for instance, okay, and I would normally answer, and then I'd end up being on the phone and like 20 minutes later and things like this, okay? So what I now do is I let it go to voicemail, and then when I choose to call him back, I will say, hi Dad, I noticed you just called. I've only got 5 minutes because I'm literally about to do the kids' tea or something like this. So I set my boundaries, and I don't need to do that anymore. But initially, years ago, that's what I had to do. But over time, that will become easier and more like normality for you. But at the start, it can feel really clunky and feel really, really tough. So support yourself around all of that. You know, that might mean getting someone to call you up or something, or saying, I've got to go now because I've got this meeting, or I've just joined this online Facebook group or something as well. And I really need to help myself and go and do all of these things too. So support yourself if you know you're setting those boundaries right now too, because I know it can feel really, really tough around all of that. Boundaries are going to be your best friend. Prep your nervous system. Let's create some new traditions for yourself. What can you do? And then afterwards, you might feel more activated again. Then what we want to do is down-regulate our nervous system. Go for a walk, engage in nature, do some mindful work, engage your senses, do some breathing. Lots of things to shift you out of your emotional brain too. Many of you may be feeling activation around your sympathetic response as well, because there might be some anger, some rage starting to come up and you end up pushing it down. I'd really invite you to start to learn to feel that, because your body wants to heal and is trying to discharge that energy. But very often we feel like we're shoving it back down and suppressing it again. So I just really invite you, if you start to feel that energy, lean into that and think about how you can express it. That might be get a rolled up towel and start to turn it so you're discharging that energy, but in a healthy way. Maybe you want to go and get a pillow and throw a pillow around. But again, try and slow things down a bit, because that's more likely then that your body will feel like it is discharging that sympathetic energy. And I know how tough this time can be. So I want you to know that you're not on your own. And again, in the copy below, I will also put some links to come and join my free community, my Thrivers community, which is stupidly low cost, where I'll be going live over the holiday season as well. It's only £6 or $7 a month. And, you know, I'll be in and out. I'll be doing lots of Q&As over the holidays as well, because I want you to know you're not on your own in any of this. I get it's a really, really challenging time, but it is coming up. So let's prep, let's plan, let's put things into place. It may not be the best holiday ever, but let's make it the best holiday it can be. Let's focus on what we can do, not all the things that we can't, because what you'll do is you'll just sit and re-traumatize yourself and feel really, really stuck. Let's be proactive. Let's be intentional with all of this, because you don't need to feel like this. You can feel better than you do right now. And you'd be surprised that when you start to shift and do this, we start to create new neural pathways and we start to shift our nervous system state as well. So I hope that really, really helps you. I hope it helps you, just give you a few suggestions to be going on with. You're not on your own in any of this. I've been there, and I used to sit there sometimes really angry being on my own with the kids, because I thought everybody else is happy families and stuff. Believe me, they're not, okay? okay? They really, really are. Some people might want to be in your position, being on your own, maybe either on your own or with your children as well. So know that, step into gratitude that you do have your children if you've got them, because you know what? They're the most beautiful gift. They really, really are. So whether you have them and you're feeling like it's a lot of work, step into gratitude, because ultimately you can't feel anger and gratitude at the same time. And maybe if this is your first Christmas on your own, take this time to do some reparenting. Give yourself that which you haven't received before. Spoil yourself. So I hope that really helped. And remember, I am here to serve you in any way that I can. Make sure you're following me over on Instagram, where I share reels, and go and follow me on TikTok. I'm still trying to dive into TikTok. I promise I'm going to do it more next year, but I am diving into it as well. But please let me know in the comments below. Maybe you have some other tips that you have used to really inspire other people as well, so that they know they're not the only ones. And maybe you're going to come up with some great ideas for them as well. But I hope these are just a few. I don't want to overwhelm you. I just wanted to give you a few top tips to help you cope in this holiday season dealing with a narcissist, because I know it is totally possible for you to move from post-traumatic stress to post-traumatic growth. Mwah. Lots of love, my friends. Happy holidays wherever you are. And I promise you, you can move forward from this. There is a light at the end of the tunnel.